So a different word for transgenderism, or as I like to call it, transtrenderism, is eugenics. Transgenderism is eugenics, full stop. And I'm not sorry to say that, but I'm sorry that it's being widely practiced at this rate, because it is at the moment. Thankfully, I think it's decreasing, but it already happened way too much, and it never should have happened, but it did. And here we are. So let me just give you the definition of eugenics that AI told me, because I was like, why don't I actually look this up, see the formal AI definition, and see if transtrenderism fits the criteria. Wouldn't you know it, it does. Okay, AI overview. Eugenics is a set of largely discredited, unethical beliefs and practices aimed at improving the genetic quality of the human population. It involves controlling human reproduction to increase desirable hereditary traits, positive eugenics, and reduce undesirable or inferior traits, negative eugenics, often leading to discrimination, forced sterilization, and human rights violations. Look at that. Check, check, check. That would be transgenderism. So it's eugenics, and it's wrong for children and adults, because it does often end up sterilizing people, especially kids, way earlier than they're even able to comprehend that consequence. But you know what? That's kind of just the easiest go-to thing. You can be like, oh yeah, it sterilizes people. Yes, of course it does. And that's, kind of the most severe sounding serious consequence from eugenics, right? But the fact of the matter is that's not even the most serious one. Because the most serious one is actually just, mutilating someone's ability to urinate and or have sex properly. Whether you're gay, straight, bi, lesbian, whatever, okay? Taking that ability away from people, and also experimenting on them to begin with, because a lot of these surgeries, if not all of these surgeries, are in fact experimental. That's eugenics. I don't know what else to tell you. So it's also, I'm really, 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 really sick of seeing people say these surgeries it's wrong to give children gender affirming care, but adults can do what they want. No, if it's wrong for kids, it's wrong for adults, okay? Any sound-minded adult would not, under any normal circumstances, get his or her body parts mutilated or chopped off or altered in any severe way, okay? Yet we have people signing up to do it. And you know what? I gotta hand it to the transgender movement, because they were pretty clever in this really fucked up way, because they're this, disgusting self-mutilation cult, right? And in order to not appear as a disgusting self-mutilation cult, they say, well, all the adults who do it are consenting adults. All the adults who do it know what they're getting into. No, the fuck, they do not, okay? Because if they did, then they wouldn't do it. And if they did, I think many of them, if not most of them, if not all of them, weren't considering possible death from complications of the surgeries as a potential consequence of these gender mutilation, gender affirming care surgeries, okay? But here we are. Okay, so I want to explain. Oh, my cat turned the fan on. Okay, maybe he wanted it on. What I want to explain is this concept of LARPing. I don't think most people know what that is. I didn't know what it was until 10 years ago. And when I heard about it and it was explained to me, I was like, really? There's a market for that? Okay. But so what LARPing is, it stands for live action role play. Okay. And that means that there are people, grown ass adults, who want to hang out in a field and pretend live action role play like it's the Middle Ages. They want to pretend live action role play like it's Star Trek or like sci-fi or like post-apocalyptic friggin' what's that game? Oh, Jesus Christ. Fallout, right? That's a thing, right? That's a possibility that you go to. That's an option for you to spend your time that way if you so desire. But the thing is that but let me get into it more detailed. Is that people actually like wear clothing that they would wear, that someone in the setting named would wear, right? So they might wear like a full suit of armor, or they might wear, like a jumpsuit, like a one of those ones from Fallout or whatever, you know. So that's what LARPing is, okay? And it's generally recognized as like a coordinated event, okay? You can't very well just like go LARP with your neighbors, right? That's not a thing. But so yeah, this is a thing. LARPing is a thing. But here's the thing, and this is why I call transtrenderism LARPing, because it is in fact LARPing, is people are self-LARPing as their imaginary sex. Or they're self-LARPing as their wives. Because that's what happens to most men who are married to women that later become trans, is they basically try to like become their wives. It's really fucking creepy and gross, but there are pictures of these men photographed with their wives, and they're very clearly just like trying to be them, which is creepy and weird. Anyway, so I cannot emphasize enough that that transtrenderism is a form of LARPing. It's a form of self-LARPing. And what people want to do is they want to get their imaginary sex established, and they want to live that way, and they want other people, and they expect other people to adhere to their LARPing needs, right? And that is absurd. That is completely absurd and stupid and wrong, and you're not really like mentally okay if you're thinking that's going to be something you can actually do for the rest of your life. And like I know I've said this a million times before, you guys. I just keep repeating myself. I've been repeating myself for 8 years, and things are finally fucking starting to change, kind of. But it's not like I was the only person saying these things, okay? More often than not, transtrenders are homosexual. More often than not, they are just people who want to like fit in, and they think they can better fit in if they are LARPing, right? I guess the ladyboys are, where are they? Thailand? The Philippines? I don't think they're in the Philippines. They're too Catholic. Ladyboys are a good example of this because they're very fucking clearly gay men, but they're so like good at pretending to be women that there's this huge market for that. Weird. But like, why can't you just be a gay man? Or better yet, if you're so in love with all these like feminine physical traits, like having long hair, wearing earrings, wearing makeup, wearing women's clothing, why can't you just do that? If you so desire to do that, why can't you do that? You shouldn't have to cut your penis off about it. Hot take, I know. But anyway, so yeah, most people who are trans are just a gay person or a lesbian person, or a lot of the times they are autistic people, okay? Like, I would say that a lot of transtrenderism is kids just like freaking out over their puberty, okay? Thankfully, before I went through puberty, I read about puberty and I knew about puberty, and I was like, oh, cool, can't wait. I can't wait to look more like a woman, you know? Of course, like, it's awkward for 100% of people to physically develop. Like, our teen years and adolescence is awkward for everyone. Like, there's quite literally no getting around it. You sure as shit shouldn't, trans your kid about it. I guess people are stupid enough to do that. I just want to talk about these, like, healthcare workers for a minute, because this is... I can't get over how disturbing this is, because so many healthcare professionals are pro transtrenderism. And I think that's largely having to do with the fact that there are, this is just such a freaking huge, giant, horrible issue, you guys. I can't get to the whole root of it in one video. But when it comes to like healthcare professionals, right? Healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, specialists, whatever. The thing is that they more often than not suffer from something called compassion fatigue, and veterinarians get it too. It's where like you simply cannot help enough people. Like you want to badly. That's why most people go into medicine, but I'll have you know that actually there's a really high percentage, like one of the top 10 professions that is occupied by sociopaths is actually surgeons, like putting that out there. But anyway, compassion fatigue is where you cannot help enough people. You cannot save enough people. You cannot address enough people's problems. Like you do in fact get super, that affects you greatly in your life overall, because you just can't do it. No one can. And it's the same with veterinarians. Like, you try to help as many pets as you possibly can. You try to do the right procedures, but you're just not always going to get it right, etc. Right? So naturally, yes, of course, that's going to affect you mentally. Here's the thing. Here's why I know one huge reason why I know that transtrenderism caught on so quickly is like if you walk into a doctor's office with an obvious problem, with an obvious way to fix it, or an obvious treatment, right? It's like, here you go, here's your prescription, goodbye. That's so easy, right? But a lot of the time, people come in and they have these problems that are not fixable in one appointment, or that are not fixable with one medication, or that are not fixable with one recommendation to go somewhere else. There are a lot of people like that who have extreme, who have some kind of hard to diagnose medical problems, people who have something else going on that's just not really clear, or they're seeking medical help. I'm not really making a lot of sense here, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Anyway, when a transgender person comes in, suddenly now, thanks to 2010 Tumblr, a 2010s Tumblr, we suddenly have a super easy solution, a super easy path of healing, path to the right thing, right? It's like, if someone comes in and has bipolar disorder, like you might be able to refer that person to a competent psychiatrist and a competent psychologist, but then once that person gets to those people, the people that are helping them, it may not be the right help for them, right? There's no just like, there's no equivalent to a mental ailment like there is to a simple physical ailment. Like, you broke your arm, you have a rash, you need stitches, right? It is not that clear. It is not that easy. But now, because all this transtrender fucking Tumblr retardation bullshit just got so popular, a bunch of doctors were like, yeah. And it's the same with school officials, right? If a kid comes to a guidance counselor and says, we never have food at my house, I am hungry every day, and I'm thankful that the school provides me, a shitty like cinnamon roll and lunch every day, but it's not enough. I don't eat on the weekends. Like, there's not an easy solution to that. Okay? You can't just be like, oh, sure, Francesca, here's some beans. Bye. Like, that's not easy. That there are so many complicated problems that are not able to be addressed, and we found one complicated problem, right? Gender dysphoria, or perceived gender dysphoria, or acquired gender dysphoria, because it's social contagion. We've made these imaginary steps to improve the situation, which is transtrenderism, which is taking hormones, which is getting surgeries. And, it's so easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying like this is, it's like this 10-step program, right? That people are like, oh yeah. Oh, you feel like a girl? Oh, you feel like a boy? Let me refer you to this doctor. It's real fucking stupid. Okay. I was gonna say this earlier, but I guess I got kind of off track. But that's largely why transtrenderism caught on like wildfire, was because these people, all these medical professionals with compassion fatigue. Let me just say this about medical professionals really quick. Hi, Smokey. He says hi. A lot of them are really fucking stupid. I can't really emphasize that enough. Don't ruin my shot. Maybe really fucking stupid is a little bit harsh. A lot of them are absolutely obsessed with following the rules. And now we have these rules for transtrenderism, and oh wow, they were so easy to learn, so that just must be the Bible. That just must be law, mustn't it? Like, you guys would not... I will never believe, and I will never be okay with how quickly this caught on within the medical institution, within medicine. Is that doctors and everyone were really fucking stupid and, like, unable to rock the boat enough and unable to put their foot down and say, absolutely not, this is not adequate healthcare. This is not even healthcare. This is not. There's no healthcare about being trans, okay? It's all experimental, all right? Which leads me to my last point that I wrote down on my notes. How is it not experimental? They're being experimented on, okay? The ability or the inability to reproduce is kind of like beside the point, because you can die from complications of these surgeries. You can have a lifelong medical condition due to these surgeries. And people have pointed out lately that a lot of these like transgender activists you see are now, who are like in their 30s, right? They were in their 20s last decade, and now they're in their 30s this decade. And a lot of them are using mobility devices. A lot of them are using walkers. They're using canes. They're using wheelchairs, because the hormones they were on so severely damaged their bodies that they now need mobility devices or tools to help them just get around. How they didn't foresee that happening last decade, but here we are. So y'all tell me how the fuck that isn't eugenics. And y'all tell me how how medical professionals and the medical industry in general just let the shit slide. They just let it go. They were like, let's let it happen. And now here we are. And there are going to be more and more. I was already saying this like 10 years ago, you guys. I was already saying that there are going to be tons of lawsuits. There are already tons of lawsuits by people who were taken advantage of by the medical industry and just like siphoned on into the transgender train. Okay? Is that good? No, it's not. Trans women are men poorly performing their favorite sexist stereotypes. Trans men are women who have likely been sexually abused in childhood. That is a thing. I don't know about the statistics for men, but I know for a fact that's what's going on with women. And medical people, medical professionals, healthcare for going along with it is also way the fuck in the wrong for experimenting on this shit. I will say one more thing because my cat wants to go on a walk. Apparently there was this guy in Canada recently who you guys, I can't make this up, okay? This is so absurd and disgusting and horrible. But anyway, there's this really mentally unsound guy who couldn't decide if he wanted to have his dick cut off or he wanted to have his dick inverted or keep it. So he like went to the Supreme Court of Canada, argued his case, and now he's being sent out of Canada to Texas to get an experimental surgery done. where he would maintain his penis and get some kind of vaginal cavity surgically Frankensteined into him as well. So they're spending real Canadian dollars, real Canadian currency, real Canadian money to send this sick fuck to Texas to get an experimental surgery that could kill him. How is that good? And how is that not eugenics? Because it's eugenics. Get over it.